Pittsburgh Steelers fans, what's going on? This is Jeff Hartman, editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, with you for another episode of the Steelers post-game show. It's the first show of the 2019 regular season, and boy, was it forgettable. Joining me, as always, is Lance Williams to recap the 33-3 smackdown the New England Patriots put on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Lance, let's get right into it. What were your thoughts?
My thoughts simply were, I'm glad you have 15 more games.
That's to me right now. That's like an unfathomable thought, having to watch this team play for the 15 more games. But I know that's because I'm an emotional fan, and it's tough for me to envision. I will say that the defense, I feel like there's some hope. Some of the things that we saw. But even there, I mean, Lance, the first question right off the bat, and I said this on Twitter because I run the Behind the Steel Curtain Twitter feed during games. I was doing my winners and losers column, thinking about who could be a winner. Lance, tell me something, anything, one player, something positive. You're normally Mr. Negative, but tell me something positive to take away from this 33-3 smackdown.
I don't think there's one particular player you could say there's a positive, but I go back to a statement that Collinsworth made when he said that the approach and where they're trying to get to as a defense by being faster, being more of a hybrid defense, I think the approach is right. However, going into Foxborough, playing against Tom Brady with a lot of new interchangeable parts was pretty tough. Sean Davis proved his injury proved to be the domino. I think that really impacted this defense. You had Hilton playing in some different positions. You had Cameron Kelly playing, and he looked like what league was that? AAF. He looked like an AAF player. You had Devin Bush out there in a new role, obviously a rookie. Barron, kind of in a new role, playing in a new defense. So you put like 4 or 5 new pieces on a field against Tom Brady on the road in Foxborough. That's going to be tough. But I think it's something that we'll have to be patient with. My only disappointment was I thought that they would dominate the interior of that offensive line a little more. I think they were winning a lot of individual battles, but I think what New England does so well is schematically they just go to shotgun, hit you with quick game, and when you try to play man coverage, they run those rubs and those picks underneath, and the ball is out. So any advantage that you had there, it's negated by his ability to read the field and get the ball out quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I found myself thinking, where's Stephon Tuitt? Where's Cameron Hayward? Cameron Hayward's name wasn't said once in this game. It's you can't, in my opinion, and you can talk schematics, you can talk about X's and O's. Your players need to show up and make plays. Period. Your best players need to, and Cam Hayward, I would say, is arguably one of the best defenders that they have. Nothing. Didn't do a thing. Bud Dupree, yes, he registered the only sack on Tom Brady. He was atrocious. When TJ Watt is getting double teamed every single play, and that's not an exaggeration. Bud Dupree's got to win his one-on-one match. He can't do it. He cannot do it.
That was against the I think Wynn was the first round draft pick for them, right?
Yeah.
Out of Georgia. Oh, yeah, he did not play. Dupree did not play particularly well. And that was a matchup that we thought, at least a matchup between Watt and Cannon, we both noticed it from last year and how well Watt played against Cannon, that Cannon really could not handle Watt. And you saw what the Patriots did. They basically said, they took the approach that they do on defense about trying to take out a weapon in taking out the Steelers' number one defensive weapon, which was TJ Watt. And you can see that the game plan, or at least their pass blocking plan, really focused on taking him out of the game.
Yeah, I don't think, if you're talking about winners and losers, game balls, whatever you want to call it, I don't think there was a bigger loser than this vodka drinker gave us $10 in the tip jar. I'll put it up on the screen there. Moncrief has got feet for hands, and our linebackers handle play action like junior high rookies. first, Dante Moncrief, because some people might say that Cam Kelly would be the biggest loser in the game. No, I don't think so because Cam Kelly's a backup. Cam Kelly played in the AAF this past season. No one in their right mind thought that Cam Kelly was going to come in and be able to solidify the back end and like Sean Davis's. But Dante Moncrief was a free agent acquisition that got paid a pretty decent amount of money to catch passes. Now, I read this off to you before we went on the air. He was targeted 10 times, Lance. 10 times. He ended up with 3 catches for 7 yards. And one of those catches was in garbage time when Ben Roethlisberger essentially just heaved the ball over the middle. It was in the low, I think it was a low snap. Just say what you want about Moncrief, and I said that his when in week 2 of the preseason when he fumbled the ball against Kansas City, I said that was a tough start to a career in Pittsburgh. This was worse. This was way worse. I don't know what else to say about Dante Moncrief. I don't know what they're waiting for. Notice that when James Washington entered the game, things started to open up a little bit more. I don't know. You can speak on that if you want.
I'm a little disappointed in how they utilize Washington. That they're only utilizing Washington on 9 routes. They've got to be a little more creative and try to do different things with him. I do not want to see Switzer on the field as well as a slot receiver with Juju and Moncrief. Moncrief, very disappointing game. However, the National Football League is a no excuses league. And if you're Cam Kelly and you're going to suit up, you've got to play better football. Giving up, deep seam routes, guys running straight down the middle of the field past you, that's below the line. That's unacceptable. So, in terms of goats of the game, it's both of those guys. It's Moncrief and it's Kelly. But I think it's also on the offensive football team, the offensive staff, in terms of its game plan in this game. I had no idea what they were trying to do. Anytime you can't convert numerous thirds and one and fourth and ones, you're just not going to compete. You're not going to win. And it was below the line, like Coach Tomlin said in his press conference. That was just deplorable. Play with some gumption, a little bit of physicality, some strength, and try to move somebody and get a yard. It's terrible. Their short yardage offense was absolutely below the line. And they're going to have to get that done. They're going to have to get that fixed immediately.
I don't think that. So getting bent with Bo, he's a longtime listener of the show. He said our defense was exposed. I don't necessarily agree with that. Just based on the fact that to me, I look at the defense was gassed. It's week 1. They're going to be tired as it is because they're not accustomed to playing 4 quarters. So that's bad enough. But you mentioned the offense, the offensive game plan. To me, it literally looked like they were guessing. And that's a really bad place to be in when you're talking about an offensive game plan and an approach to a series, a drive, whatever. It seemed like they came out every single series in the first half trying to do something different. They tried running the ball in the first 2 or 3 series, not very effective. Then they tried to go no huddle, not very effective. They tried different personnel, but they didn't put in Vance McDonald until Juju really utilized Vance McDonald as a receiver until Juju got hurt at the end. I'll talk about injuries here in a second. But Lance, a little bit about the offensive approach. Is it just me, or they look predictable and like they were just stabbing blindly into the dark, trying to hit something?
I don't know if they look predictable. I think to what you're saying, I think they were unpredictable, but nothing worked. It just looked like they were unpredictable because they were searching for anything that would work, and nothing ultimately worked. I think a concern, if you're a Steeler fan, is that you got rookie wide receivers getting touches so early in the season. You've got them, Holton was targeted, Johnson was targeted. It just seemed concerning to me that so early in the season, they're targeting these young wide receivers. And when I watch this offense, and I know it's early and I don't want to overreact, no one, no one looked explosive. The offense did not look explosive. I mean, a majority of the time, New England had at least 10 guys within 10 yards of the line of scrimmage. So, I mean, you've got to take advantage of that, but this offense does not look explosive at all.
No, not at all. And it's one of those situations where, you know, it seemed like every route that Moncrief ran was a little drag route or a stop route or whatever you want to call it in football terminology. He never was going down the field. James Washington was trying to stretch the field. Johnny Holden was trying to stretch the field. They even ran a go route with Deontay Johnson, who I thought didn't play too bad for being a rookie in a big spot like that. I guess for me, there's a good chance that the Steelers offense has not found their identity yet. And we have to remember that the offensive line, I mean, David DeCastro, he played the same amount of snaps that Ben Roethlisberger probably did. Same with Marquise Pouncey. Now let's talk about injuries as we bring up Pouncey. So Tomlin wrapped up his post-game press conference. He said TJ Watt obviously left the game with a hip injury. He'll be evaluated. Uh, Marquise Pouncey was an ankle. Joe Hayden was a shoulder. He was able to come back. And the other injury was Juju Smith-Schuster, which is probably the scariest one. Why? Because he said it's a toe. If he gets turf toe, that can linger for a skill position player. So we'll have to make sure Tuesday he'll update all those, and then we'll see with practice.
Let me ask you something, Jeff. I mean, you know the body. You're that type guy. Does turf toe come from contact?
Turf toe can come from several different things. It basically is like a severe sprain of the big toe. And so every time that you are flexing, they call it turf toe because it happened to a lot of athletes that played on AstroTurf because it doesn't give, and when you plant, sometimes it's a non-contact thing, but a lot of times it's when that toe jams down into turf or something like that, which is what happened to Juju at the end of the game there. I'm not sure why he was still in the game. We'll talk about that in a second. But it can be a painful injury for someone that is a skill position. An offensive lineman can come back sooner than a running back with turf toe. But turf toe, that's what ended. A lot of people say that ended Jack Lambert's career early.
Deion Sanders too. Deion
Yep.
Sanders is another guy.
Exactly. I'm not suggesting that Juju Smith-Schuster's career is over, but I wanted to get your opinion. So let's say you're the coach of the Steelers. You're down 33-3. It's garbage time. There's about 7 minutes left in the game. And what do you ever say? All right, Ben, we're just going to move on to next week. All right, Mason, get in there. Pouncey, go ahead and have a seat. DJ Finney, go in there. Jalen Samuels, get some reps. No, you never would.
I mean, at some point, they've got to develop a rhythm. I mean, at some point in time, we were talking, we were texting all through the game. I mean, you got to find a rhythm. You got to find something that works. A personnel grouping, a formation, a set of plays. I mean, everything was so disjointed on offense. I'm sure that's why they kept everybody in. Although it looked pretty bizarre when BJ Finney held onto the ball and the entire offensive line false snapped. False started, I should say. I mean, that was just indicative of how bad the game was. But I mean, they tried to get some rhythm, and you got to get some rhythm. I mean, this offense looked really disjointed. They got a Seattle team coming in next week, and they got to find something somewhere. So I'm sure that's why they wanted to keep everybody in. It's football. Guys are going to get nicked. I don't know it happens. Guys get hurt.
Yeah. And so now the Steelers are faced with some very key injuries heading into week 2 with the Seattle Seahawks coming to Heinz Field, and they were victors over the Cincinnati Bengals today on Sunday. I watched a lot of that game. It was actually a better game than you think compared to the other late games. It was actually one of the more competitive games. So take that
better than the one we watched tonight.
Oh,
whoa.
I mean, in Mike Tomlin's post-game press conference, he basically said it sucked, and we're not ready for prime time multiple times. And the crazy thing is that, we know the news that Antonio Brown is going to be going to New England as of tomorrow. They'll make it official. That team, barring an injury, is only going to get better. So my question is to you, Lance, if everything's going to run through New England, and it's probably going to run through Foxborough, Doesn't that just kind of throw a big glass of water on the fire for the season?
No, I mean it's a long season. I mean, you can get better. I mean, let's just look at the Patriots in and of themselves. I mean, there was a year they won a Super Bowl and they got beat 31-0 in the first game. I mean, it's a long season. I mean, there's 16 games, and being healthy and staying healthy is part of this whole thing. It's a war of attrition, and you've got to get better. They have an opportunity to get better. You know, Tom Brady said this post game press conference or just an interview on field that there was a lot of things they could have done to be better. You look at that Kansas City Chiefs team today. I mean, I don't know how you stop that offense. I mean, they probably could have scored 50 points on Jacksonville because they missed on at least 3 touchdown throws. Mahomes could have had 6 touchdown passes today. I mean, a tough team. It's a long season.
Yeah.
The narrative on the season has not been completely written. So, and me, I'm paying your joy, and you sound like pain, and I sound like joy. It's a long season. It's 0-1. It's no more, no less. I mean, my brother is hitting me with text. Oh, we whooped your A's and this, that. And he's all fired up. I'm like, dude, you're older than me. You've been through this more times than I have. It's 1-0. That's it. It's more, no less. I mean, it's a painful loss. It's embarrassing, but these are the type of moments that you go home, you're humble, you watch the film, you correct, and you concentrate on getting better. It better create a singular focus on the task at hand against the Seattle Seahawks next week.
Okay, so let's look ahead a little bit. I don't want to go into like full down breakdown, but when you finish digesting the crap sandwich that this was, what changes, if any changes at all, would you make from a personnel standpoint? For instance, you might say, I'm not making a knee jerk reaction. I'm not going to give up on a player after 1 week. Or are you going to say, this might be something I might try, whether it's this player plays in this situation, this spot on the field, whatever the case may be? What changes would you make?
Honestly, this is going to be interesting. Honestly, nothing. Because this is one of those, and you've been a coach. I mean, this is one of those where you get beat so bad, it's hard to take anything away from it other than, man, we just stunk. We just kind of got killed. We just weren't really ready. Like, it's one of those where you don't necessarily burn the film, but you're like, that was a bad one. We've got to go back to this drawing board with the guys because you can't lose confidence in guys so soon. I mean, you gotta give guys a little bit of a rope. Now I know Moncrief. If you have a couple more performances like Moncrief had, then they'll lose confidence in him because you just can't give a guy that many targets with no catches. I mean, it's just you just don't have enough plays. But honestly, I wouldn't swap anybody out. The only thing maybe would be I would play Moncrief, Washington, and Juju in 11 personnel and take out the football man, the electric football man that doesn't move forward in Ryan Switzer. And hopefully Sean Davis gets healthy so you see a little more stability on the back end.
Earlier you said you didn't feel like the offense was predictable. I disagree. If you go back and watch some of their situational packages that they went into, the bunch package, even in certain personnel groupings, I'll give you the perfect example. The touchdown pass that fell, it was when they kicked the field goal. 3rd and 1. They throw the fade pass to Moncrief. He looks over the wrong shoulder. Would have been there if he just turns to his left. He looks over his right shoulder. That play is designed for Ryan Switzer. And Dante Moncrief is the second read. I could have told you to run that play the second they came out of that timeout and they had their personnel grouping. I could have said, this is what they're going to do. The
Here's the
first,
here's the thing though, Jeff. It was open.
no, yeah, you're right. You're right. It was predictable. It was open. Sometimes I just wish the Steelers would get into the, you know what? It's 3rd and inches. It's 3rd and 1. We supposedly have one of the best offensive lines in the game. We're gonna buckle up. We're gonna go forward. I don't care if it's QB sneak, a handoff to James Washington. These pitches to the Todd Haley pitch on 3rd and short, just awful, just awful.
I just
So
want to do a costume change quickly. Real quickly, I just want to do a costume change. My head was a little hot
Uh,
because my internal body temperature is just a little steamy based on this putrid performance. But to your point, at some time you have to make a physical statement, like you said. You can't go, 11 personnel, 10 personnel on 3rd and 1. Some of the play calling was really bad. Establish the line of scrimmage and play football. What about Rosie Nix in short yardage situations? Was there a Rosie Nix sighting? No. They didn't target a tight end till late. It didn't feel like they had a cohesive plan to attack the Patriots. It just, not only were the players not ready for prime time, I'm not sure if the plan was ready for prime time either.
No, this was bad. You said earlier, you're like Julian, I'm like Payne right now because I never in a million years would have guessed that would have happened. If you would have said they lose, but yeah, I get it. That's a tough spot, like you said. But to lose 33-3 and you're trailing 20-0 at halftime, I mean, we're talking about some seriously awful situational football, bad from the start. Man, it's
Let me ask you, Jeff,
what a
how
way to.
how different is the game if they convert those 3rd and shorts in the first half?
It's tough to say. Well, they punted on the one. They were in their own end, so there's no guarantee they would have gotten in like field goal range or anything. Um,
How about just from the sense that you don't give Brady
well, that's
maybe
the thing.
three or four more possessions?
The Steelers' defense was gassed. I mean,
Yes.
say what you want about that defense, but they were on the field a ton tonight. I feel like they were on there for 200 snaps or something. But um, I'm not. I'm more upset with the offense than I am the defense. There's a lot of people in the live chat right now that are talking about Butler and they said Mark Barron was on the field too much. They were all on the field too much.
I agree with you, Jeff. I mean, it's a complementary game. I mean, it's a three-phase game, and you know the defense was hung out to dry. They played way too many snaps, and this was actually, I think, a pretty decent game to me from Collinsworth. He said some points that I thought hit home about the approach the Steelers are trying to take on defense. I thought was spot on. The other one was in a week 1 game when you play this many snaps. I mean, it was almost 3-1 snaps in the first half, and you're going to be dead in the first game. And I think Tomlin was spot on in his press conference when he said, you're going to face certain type of throws and certain type of plays when a defense feels like they have you under control. So you're going to see stuff that they're just going to try stuff on you. Like some of that stuff in the second half, I think that's stuff that the Patriots wanted to kind of see if it would work. And it did.
Yeah. Let's look at the box score, shall we? The Pittsburgh Steelers, they obviously lose 33-3. This is something that we typically do after games in our post game. It's normally not just us ranting and raving over how awful they looked. Yet here we are still. Let me get this stupid ad to not go off in the middle of it. There we go. All right. So James Conner, let's talk about the rushing stats first. He finished with 10 carries for 21 yards with a balmy average of 2.1 yards per carry. Jalen Samuels, 2 carries for 4 yards. They only ran the ball 13 times. One of those was Ben Roethlisberger for 32 yards, 2.5 yards per carry. Lance.
Okay, Jeff.
That's not good
enough. Stop in the name of love before you break my heart. They had 12 rushing attempts from running backs.
Yes.
For 26 yards.
Yes. The longest run was from the quarterback, 7 yards.
Remember, you know that word you always say that starts with a B-A and ends with my name?
Yes, I do.
Balance.
Yes.
47 passing attempts 12 rushing attempts from running backs or fullbacks. Help. I need somebody. Help. I need anybody. Help. Won't you please, please help me?
Good Beatles reference there. I tweeted this out during the game, and I said that I was glad they were being patient with the run early in the game. They stuck with it, and I asked how long will they be patient? Well, as the possessions got shorter and as they got fewer, by the time they hit the second half, it was full on pass happy mode. And right when that happened, I'm stunned that Ben only had one pick. Let's look at his stat line: 27 of 47 for 276 yards. And those are even padded with that last garbage time drive where he hit Vance McDonald a couple times. 5.9 yards average, one interception, zero touchdowns, was sacked one time for a awesome QBR of 18.2 and a rating of 65.6. There you go.
Let me stop you again, Jeff. I need help. I need help. Won't you please, please help me? He had more incompletions than they had rushing attempts.
Yeah.
Just think of that. In the live chat, just think of that. He had 7 more incompletions than they had rushing attempts. I just okay.
Okay, let's keep it moving down to the receiving core. In terms of targets, Dante Moncrief led the team with 10. After that, it was Juju Smith-Schuster with 8. And then you had James Washington with 6. Ryan Switzer, your boy, with 6. And then Deontay Johnson with 5. Everyone else had less than 5. Juju Smith-Schuster, who I thought had a pretty good game, 6 receptions, 78 yards, 13-yard average. James Washington, 2 for 51, 25 and a half average. Did anyone know why James Washington ran out of bounds?
I'm glad you.
I mean, he catches that pass, and I'm thinking, shoot, he's gone. And then he just steps out of bounds. Like, there's no safety coming over to hit you. What are you doing?
Oh, it's the invisible hand. Wait, it's the invisible hand. You know, the term that was coined by the great economist Adam Smith. It's the invisible hand, man. The invisible hand pushed him out of bounds. I me and my dad rewound that play maybe 3 or 4 times, thinking, why did he run out of bounds? I didn't understand it. And, in our perpetual Steeler, painful Steeler watching, we knew they were going to kick a field goal.
Yeah. Okay. We're just gonna keep going. Let's go down to defense. Devin Bush led the team with tackles with 11 total tackles, 7 of them solo. What were your thoughts on the rookie's performance, Lance?
They gave up 33 points.
I know, but the rookie's performance.
Of all of those tackles, none of them were consequential.
Okay.
I thought he struggled just like the rest of the defense. You see the flashes, the speed and stuff is there. I think he struggled. His recognition of play action was below the line. Him and Barron, I mean, they got sucked on. They got used on play action. So struggling, he struggled. He struggled just like everybody else. But it's a game one. He got a lesson from the master, and so did Edmonds with the eye manipulation. But Bush struggled.
Yeah. Yes. They, like you said, they all did. Cameron Kelly, the AAF All-Star, he was 7 tackles, 5 solo, no pass defenses. I could continue to go down the line. Terrell Edmonds had a pass defense. They only had 1 pass defense in the entire game. They did.
I'm surprised they had any.
Yeah, they did have 5 quarterback hits. Hilton had 1, Dupree had 1, and a sack. And TJ Watt had 3. And I'm looking at tackles for losses. Actually, didn't do bad there. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm coming off hard on the defense. I wasn't as disappointed with them as I was in the offense. So, anything to add about the defense?
Just bad. Not good enough. I think the thought is there where they want to be. I think that's there. We just have to see it. A couple other numbers because I brought up the game book myself, where we were talking about snap count, snaps, and number of plays. The Patriots ran 40 offensive plays in the first half to only 24 from the Steelers. And so, when you look at that, um, it's tough. I mean, it's tough. You're going to be a gas bunch. On third down in the first half, the Patriots were 5 of 9. They kept drives going. They kept the ball. They gassed this defense out. They had the ball for 17 minutes. And that's why I think you saw the defense really struggle even more in the second half. And when you only convert 3 of 12 third downs for 25%, you're gonna put your defense in some compromising situations. Although the total number of plays kind of evened itself out at the end of the game. The Patriots snapped 67 plays to the Steelers 61, but still, I think the damage was done in the first half, as it was a little lopsided in terms of number of snaps.
It's it's something that Mike Tomlin said to get away from the box score for a second. He said this to New England Patriots media leading up to the game. They asked him, they said, Coach, you've had a really good not spring training. You've had a really good training camp, really good preseason. And he said, that means nothing. We had a good training camp last year too. And we know how that played out. I guess for me, the one thing that I look at in this situation is if there was ever a time for you to take a beating like this, I would always ask for that early in the season. So the Steelers, maybe just maybe they were drinking their own Kool-Aid a little bit, and they thought that they were going to be set and that they don't need anything. They're good. They're fine. We got this. We didn't play that much in the preseason. But we're just going to roll up there. We beat them last year. We're going to give them a game. And the Patriots smacked them down hard. And so if you're ever going to eat a piece of humble pie and realize that you have to get back to the drawing board and you got to work harder than what you thought, I guess week one's the way to do it. You know what I mean?
I don't know, Jeff. I mean, you're going up to a team that has beat you soundly for years. You're going up against arguably the greatest QB and the greatest coach, and they're dropping a sixth banner on your head when you had the most prior to that season. If you go up there cocky, shame on you. Shame on you. You can't go up there cock. The attitude to go up there is we have nothing to lose. Let's be ultra aggressive and go up here and try to win this game. And I think that was the thing that was probably the most frustrating for me was offensively, they were playing tiddlywinks and New England was trying to win. Not saying that they're not trying to win the game, but just be aggressive. Even if it doesn't work, be aggressive. I always try to encourage my daughter when she plays, be aggressive. The one thing a coach likes is aggressive mistakes. Coaches don't like mistakes. If you want to make a mistake, make an aggressive mistake. As I as I'm looking at Jeff getting beat up by the Sandman, you got to bob and weave, Jeff.
I used to say as a coach, if you're going to make a mistake, make it fast.
Yes.
Make it full speed. Be aggressive. Don't go in timid, and I won't be as pissed off about it. Here's $10 from Isaac from the live chat. He said, it's okay, guys. It's not like this will come back to haunt them and they managed to reach the postseason. And he's obviously being sarcastic in his statement there, but he did use the super chat.
Oh, thank you for your service, Isaac, if that's you in that picture. Just want to say that.
So I do think that, for me, everyone right now is going to have a ridiculous overreaction. And I might be a part of that because I'm really disappointed. But at the same time, I think that if you look at situations look at the Baltimore Ravens who just shellacked the Miami Dolphins, I ask myself, is Miami really a good barometer of where this team is and what they are going to look like? Probably not. But at the same time, look at the Pittsburgh Steelers and say, is this more indicative of what we should expect? Well, I sure as heck hope. I
That-
sure as heck hope not. I
you
sure as
better
heck
not
hope
be.
not. Because the Steelers they look disjointed. Um, they looked timid at times. I don't want to say they're scared or made it seem like they were scared, but it wasn't a good performance, that's for sure. There's a lot to improve upon, and there's 15 games left, and a lot can change in 15 games. So next week, the Seahawks come to Heinz Field for the home opener. I do want to mention this for Dave Schofield. He has 2 tickets that he's trying to get rid of for the game in the home opener in Seattle. In terms of price and location, I have no clue. He just sent me a text and said, "Hey, can you mention I'm trying to sell 2 tickets? If you're interested, you can email him. Find his website or his email address on behindthesteelcurtain.com. Just find any article with his name underneath it. Click on his name. It will bring up his email. You can email him and say, hey, how much are tickets? Hopefully you guys can work something out." So yeah, so the Steelers lose 33-3. Lance, go ahead.
Let me give an encouraging word for
Whoa,
Steeler fans out there.
whoa, okay, go
It
for it.
is you have to have a short memory in the National Football League, and this only counts for one. Me and Jeff, I mean, we obviously aren't professional players. Jeff runs the website, we do the podcast, but our schedule is so busy, particularly Jeff's, with the articles and the shows, that after tonight, we have to move on. We have to
Yep.
move on. We have to start breaking down Seattle. We got to start doing more shows. Jeff's got to do more articles. I have to do probably a quick watch of game film to kind of see what it looked like. We have to move on. We can't wallow in this defeat. That's what the NFL is about. You win. Hopefully, you win and correct, but you got to lose and correct as well. You've got to move on. You've got to concentrate and focus on what you did well, what you didn't. You've got to compartmentalize it. You've got to create teachable moments, and you've got to move on. They've got to move on to the next. This game has to be over in, let's say, another 12 hours.
Yeah, for the website, I typically tell my writers that if you're going to write an article that has anything to do that's not breaking news with the past game, you have until Wednesday. And then on Wednesday is when you turn the page and you start looking ahead to the next week. And so until they get to the point where there is no next week, like you said, you have like 12 hours. And I watched this game, and as a former coach, we've all had those games where you're like you said, we're burning the tape. Like, hey, you're telling us we're not watching this again. They'll watch it. They have to watch it because there's players like Cam Kelly. I mean, you would think that in his experience and as a football player would know that as a free safety, you can't let anyone behind you. That's like rule number 1. you know, um, I got caught up watching the Head and Shoulders commercial with Troy Polamalu saying
Me too.
Troy looks like he could still play.
Me
And
too. I was like, that's great.
we need a safety.
I was
Hey
like,
Troy,
wow,
why
look
don't you
at
come
Troy.
on?
I was like, Troy looks great. I was thinking the same thing, right? That's hilarious. I was like, great hair, Troy. As I wear my 43 Troy on, as I'm wearing it as well, I was like, wow, look at Troy.
Oh my gosh, look at this question. Joel Coleman says
Oh, that's great. Because
okay, so
man,
okay, hold on. So
that's
Joel
great.
Coleman puts $2.99 in the tip jar using the super chat feature, which we really appreciate, by the way. And he says, "Hey Jeff, should Ben try intermittent fasting?" For for
That's
those that
great.
have listened to the show for a long time,
That's great.
you'll hear Lance reference my Instagram account and stuff. I am a fitness guy. I do take training and personal training and online stuff very serious, and so the fact that Ben says stuff like last year, oh, I realized that I shouldn't be just like eating massive amounts of carbohydrates and not doing anything to burn off those excess calories. And as a trainer, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy is so stupid. Intermittent fasting is great, by the way. You shouldn't do it every day, maximum 3 days a week, but still I think he should try it if he needs
and
to
and
lose.
and I and I and I'm doing it tomorrow. I think I stopped at 8, but yeah, I just go to 1 if I think. But yeah, I mean, hopefully Jeff's solid eating habits and fitness rubs off on his other 3 podcasters, because we got some LBs that we could loan somebody.
uh, Nick, here we go. $5 from Kathy. She said, "Thanks, Lance. I've been way down over AB in the game, trying to move on. It's tough to be a Steeler fan right now with the fact that Antonio Brown's going to be going to the New England Patriots.
Third and fifth. Third and fifth.
Yeah, I forgot that I put the band back on. Mister Third and Fifth is going to be a member of the Patriots, but you know." I don't want to touch on that subject too much, but yeah, I don't wish injury on anybody, but I don't think that I said this in a tweet earlier today, and a lot of people did kind of misconstrued it. They said I said I don't think Antonio Brown, Mister Third and Fifth, is going to be acting the way he did in Oakland or the way that when he left Pittsburgh. My question is going to be when Brady just hits the open receiver. You know what I mean? When he hits Edelman over the middle, and then Edelman over the middle, and then he hits Josh Gordon down the sideline, or he goes to James White in the flat, and Antonio Brown is not touching the ball, not touching the ball, not touching the ball. What does he do then? That's what I want to know, because that's the situation where Brown's going to be really, really intrigued because he's only in a 1 year contract and he wants to hit free agency and he wants to get paid again. And so he needs to get the numbers. So for me, that's where I could see a combustible situation would be on the sideline. Lance, what are your thoughts on that?
I don't have any more energy for that guy. I I predicted it on our show. Check that
You
out.
did. Kudos to
Well,
you.
I already did the show. AB stands for Absolutely Bonkers, which I think is a classic show, by the way. A great, like, 11, 12-minute rant. I mean, I think the most telling thing, I don't want to read too much in their dismantling of the Steelers, but they've had no problem scoring points in the last 10 years, regardless of whoever they roll out there. So Antonio Brown, Mr. Third and Fifth, is simply icing for them. They
Yep.
don't they don't need him. This is an offense that's going to score anywhere from 28, 27 to 30 points a game, with him or without him.
Yep. Vodka drinker puts $5 in the tip jar. Says, "I don't have to fast. I can't keep food down after watching this football game."
Yeah, you keep drinking that vodka. Yeah, you got to.
So for me, this is a very disappointing loss on a multitude of levels and planes, but at the same time, it is a situation where if there's going to be a gut punch, the Steelers just got it, and we'll see how they respond. Um, Correct me if I'm wrong, Lance. I don't know if you remember. Wasn't it after a Patriots? They went up to New England and lost to the Patriots after a Super Bowl win. This was on Thursday night. Wasn't it that the game that in week 2 they played the 49ers at home and just completely throttled them? That was when Ryan Shazier had a tremendous football game, was all over the field. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that
Is
game.
that this was that the same season? Did that happen in back-to-back weeks? Because I know the San Fran
Man,
game was in week 2.
I wish Dave Schofield was up. I'm not sure, but I do remember that because I actually watched that game in San Francisco at a sports bar, and I was like the only guy with a Steeler jersey on in a sea of 49er faithful guys in the middle of San Francisco, because my daughter had to take some sort of exam that day in San Francisco. So I was just giving people the business. It was so bad. They were beating the Niners so bad. People just started buying me drinks. This is like, they were like, here, can you just take a drink so you can be quiet, please? So I had a fantastic day, but I'm not sure if they got throttled the week before. But to your point, there is a significant importance about winning next week. You do not want to go down 0-2. I know Dave has the numbers, and I'm sure he'll talk about that on the Stat Geek, or I'll text him to ask him to talk about that on the Stat Geek if they fall to 0-2. The only thing that made this day positive was watching Mr. I woke up today feeling dangerous get absolutely slapped up and shellacked. If you don't know who I'm talking about, when I say I woke up today and I feel dangerous. Oh, Baker Mayfield.
Oh.
Oh, they got shellacked. And watching the Browns fans look so disappointed after they read every press clipping and Sports Illustrated article that said that they were awesome, they got shellacked and they committed, I believe, 19 penalties. I was like, this is great. Then I watched 33-3. But it was nice watching the Browns get shellacked in those terrible uniforms.
Well, and so Dallas, I'll bring this up on the screen. He said, we're going to beat Seattle with a bunch of question marks and then crying, laughing emojis. If you're gonna put all of your emphasis on one game in 1 week, then the Seattle Seahawks are an extremely beatable team because the Cincinnati Bengals should have won that game. Should have won the game. Like I said, I watched most of it today, and they should have walked away with the win, and they couldn't do it because, well, Andy Dalton. So there you go. All right, Lance, wrap it up for us. We've gone on long enough about this horrible game.
If you're on the Clementi Bridge, please go home. That's one. And as always, tune in, tell a friend, and subscribe.
We will see you next week, hopefully under better circumstances on the Steelers post game. Thanks for listening, everybody. See you later.